friends come and visit our studio. Catch them all in Muse Talks.
Today, we have our next muse in the Muse studio, Miss Catherine Khoo from Genealogy Education.
Hey. Finally, we get you to sit down and have this.
I like this thing about the muse. Muse, it's like, I don't know, you think about somebody that inspires you.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the next
That's right.
muse, wow.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
and thank you. Well, I am I'm doing a master's in curatorial and museum studies in the University of Adelaide, right? And it's a term break more or less, but I came back earlier because I'm doing the rest through Zoom, right? And it's fascinating actually at my age studying.
very
And
much.
building young authors at the same time. And talking about busy, I think you're busier than me, Sha.
Oh, no.
And Salihin, yes.
No, I act busy, especially when Sha calls me. Act busy.
Yes.
Okay, so I've known you probably 1+2 years, but you guys known each other for a long time, right?
Yes. 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5
But it
years.
seems like we know each other
Yeah.
for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep seeing you coming to the office.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Catherine Khoo, what is it that you do?
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah. What do I do? Well, I see myself actually as giving the next generation, the people that I work with, the young authors, a sense of like, hey, I can do it. Building the next generation of thinkers and writers. That's what I started to do. Because as a young child, I got my first story published when I was 13. Right, and
13.
in the Swiss Times actually, it was a story about it's called Ray of Hope. About a young girl's love for the grandmother, and she was going to be sent to the old folks' home and all that. That story was only about 500 words long, but then I got a spot there, and I sort of like felt, hey, I can write. But then writing wasn't something that was encouraged in schools then. Yeah, we just you write compositions.
Yeah.
And so after school, I sort of like after secondary and pre-U and everything else, I got on to working and all that. So didn't have a chance to write stories, but I love telling stories. And it was only when I was 30 that I got into publishing. Yeah, and then I went to magazines, and then to being an editor and all that stuff. And then I started Jane's Education in 2003. I joined Jane's Education actually, and then I started the Young Author Scheme. Right, it was because a teacher, a head of department in school, actually told me, "Hey, you love writing, can you teach my kids to write?" And so it was like history. I said, yeah, why not? I always dive into things without thinking of the consequences. And he asked me, how many words do you think they could write? And out of the
This
blue,
is
I
for
just
secondary
said,
school or
primary school.
Primary school. Okay.
Yeah, out of the blues, I said 3,000 words. And then so I had to do that. Yeah. And so I was coach. I coached them to write.
Right.
And then I edited the books. And believe me, it's not very easy to edit. I actually cried a lot when I edited because I worked with a class of 50 kids.
Oh,
they gave
wow.
me 50 from different schools. It was a cluster program. I told them I put them into a little book for them because I always wanted to see their faces when they see a book with their name on it. After a few months of editing, it came out, and that was the Young Author Scheme. Yes, I wanted to have more than just a book for them. A book. So yeah, but I said, why don't I publish? And because I wasn't thinking of publishing or starting a publishing firm. So I approached the big publishers. That was like 30 years ago. But they said, nah, kids' work don't, it's not
No
commercial.
money,
It
yeah.
doesn't make money. Why should
Yeah.
we do it? And so I said, okay, then I'll start my own publishing firm.
wow.
Experiences and experiments books, yeah?
Right.
Why experiences and experiments? Nobody asked me this question, but I shall tell you. Life is about experiments. Life is also about experiences. That's why experiences and experiments books. Yeah.
Wow,
And
perfect.
most people think I'm a science publisher.
Experiments.
Yeah. But anyway, so I started with my first. We published in 2005 a set of 4 volumes, and we launched it at the library at Orchard. Each volume had about 12 stories. So there were 4 volumes and we had 48 stories. So all 48 young authors came and the parents came, and the principals and the teachers came, So it was a big thing for them. It was
Yeah.
actually a big thing for me as well because
Yeah.
the first time I published,
Yep.
Yeah, but it is the joy you see in their faces. Yeah, one young author actually told me that they were actually in popular bookstores. The books were sold there. And I arranged their author talks, go and share with the kids
that's
and everything
nice.
else. Yeah. And one young author actually, when I asked him about his experience, he said, it felt really good when I walked into popular bookstore,
And
see my book, flip to the page. Yeah.
Right,
And then
right.
when they bought the books, these young authors would sign on their story. It gives them a sense of, I don't know, achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first book or your favorite topic to write on?
Well, for myself, it would be basically historical stuff. I have a collection published by Epigram, a collection of 8 legends called Asia's Lost Legends. And they are picture books for children. It teaches values because it goes by countries. There's one on Japan, which is about Tokoyo. And Tokoyo went to save her father, So books about values, legends about values. That's what I like to write about, I guess.
How do you do research on folklores and stuff? Do you talk to people or read up?
Tokoyo is my favorite. It's been translated to French and, if I'm not wrong, Japanese as well, because it's a legend from Japan. So Tokoyo was, her mother died when she was very young, but her father taught her to swim. They lived near the sea, and her father was a samurai. So one day, the lord that he served actually was ill, and then they blamed the father for it. And the father got banished to the Oki Islands. Tokoyo went to find the father, to save the father. She was very brave, yeah? As she journeyed, then she met, there was this girl that was crying at the cliff because she was going to be thrown over to be eaten by the sea serpent to save the villagers, yeah? And so she dived in and she killed the sea serpent. And then they celebrated it.
And there's this book that you wrote on Hang Lipo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the final book. It's actually a legend from Malaysia.
So it's a legend, huh?
Historians always have their own version of the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a version of the truth
Yeah.
in what you
Okay.
believe in. You know there's a story of Hang Lipo.
Right.
It's in the Sejarah Melayu, I think. And then there are already stories about them, about her, and you Google search, you do Google Scholar, you do everything. There are already stories. So you piece together the story, get the facts right. Okay, she came at which period? I think it was Sultan Mansur Shah. It was during Zheng He time,
Yes,
the
Zheng He.
Admiral Cheng Ho. So these facts you have to get right. The rest, if you have read Hang Lipo, it talks about bridging cultures. Hang Lipo's book, yeah.
What interests me is that she kind of like started the Peranakan lineage.
Aha, okay. What you read, I guess, is there. I mean, if you look at history, she married Sultan Mansur Shah, and so the intermarriage becomes Peranakan. That's the thing given. But then I've been doing other research, okay? For my series, the Tapestry, which are 3 kids that got sent back into
the new
time.
one, the new one
The
they're
new
gonna
one,
write.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. It's historical fiction, but the facts are there. And I research on Singapore in the 1300s, yeah. The 5 Kings. I did a lot of research. I even went up to Bukit Larangan to sort of like try to
that's
immerse
Fort
myself
Canning.
into
Just
it.
feel
Fort
it, right?
Canning.
Just-
Yeah. And then look down and Teluk Blangah on one side. There was a Singapore stone and everything else. There were communities living in Singapore at that time because there were traders coming. And I do think that there were, if what you call Peranakans, they're actually there already. They intermarry. Yeah. It's just that it's not noted. There is no historical fact.
Right.
Yeah. So Peranakans actually exist, if I'm not wrong, before actually Hang Lipo's time. It's just not recorded. Or there's no notable person or famous person.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because if you can really like pinpoint to someone that started a lineage of a society, right? And it's huge, right? Like
Yeah.
Malacca, Singapore, and Penang. It'll be interesting.
Indonesia as well.
Indonesia as well?
Yeah, Peranakans, there are a lot. Indonesia.
Indonesia?
Yeah. Indian also. Yeah, so I'm sure there were. It's just that it's not recorded. I think in Zara's, we have a common friend,
We have,
Zara.
I mean,
she actually
she was
has.
from the National Library anyways, right? Now she's retired. So she recently wrote that book.
Yeah, the Revenant's Journey or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, about this moss. Yeah, her family has this genealogy thing all the way to I don't know what century, and they were traders. They came down, so I'm sure somewhere down the road someone married a Chinese. I think so. Yeah, so that's the first Peranakan.
Yeah, because their culture is basically you can see two distinct Chinese and what Malay Muslim kind
Yes.
of thing, right? Even
Yeah.
the food, their languages.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the difference between publishing and
Yeah.
print?
Okay. So a lot of people are confused.
No, wait. So you write,
Yeah.
publish, print.
For the longest time ever, most people think that publishers are printers. It's like I do my book and then I send for print. That's it. The publisher is forgotten, or they don't know the role the publisher plays. So publishing is basically taking a manuscript from raw, like word form or whatever, to something that is a book or any other form,
Right.
and then basically getting it distributed for the public,
Right.
for the world. Yeah. And publishing need not be just book publishing. It could be music publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what others? Lots of stuff. Yeah.
If you look at a book, right, and then the raw manuscript, how much work usually the publisher put in for, like a book becomes a finished product?
It depends on what sort of book it is, what genre as well. I mean, if you're talking fiction, it's always the work of the author with an editor. Because
Yeah.
as the author, I always feel that my book is the best. Don't need to
Right.
touch it, right?
Right, yeah,
okay?
true.
But the editor serves the
Okay.
role of the reader. Like, would this book make it to the market?
yeah.
Right? So that's the
Sure.
editor's role. But fiction is a bit dicey because, I mean, fiction is fiction, right? If you're a famous author, you would want your books to be a certain way, and the editor works with you, the illustrator
Right.
works with you. It's only like when you talk about academic books and all that, that the role of the editor is very important because you need scientific editors and all that.
True.
Yeah. But the role of the publisher is basically getting that manuscript, getting an editor in their firm, okay, to work with the author, and then after that going into layout, design and layout. And I guess illustrations and all that make a book better. Well, I beg to differ actually because it's book and text. You can have great illustrations, but if the book,
Yeah.
I mean, the text
A
is no
story.
good, it doesn't. So it has to work together. Layout is very important because it is also your audience. If your readers are young children, I guess, your typeface will be bigger, things like that. And then if it's an academic book, it has a different layout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Even comics, visual, that's different layout. And then after that, they will print. And that's where the printer comes in. Yeah. And then after that, there's marketing and distribution.
Right.
Right. Which is the most crucial part of any book.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If and then sending them for awards.
On average, how long does that take, the whole process, like for them to actually, understand and start writing?
Okay, I have a formula.
Okay.
And it's the only formula I use for ever since I started the Young Author Scheme. It's called SPACE, SPACE. And it's an acronym for setting, people, aim and action, climax and ending. There are 2 A's, right?
Okay.
Initially, it started with action. And then I put in the aim because there's always an aim when you tell a story. You
The
know,
objective?
yeah,
Okay.
an aim and objective. And if you don't have an aim for your story, there is no story.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean you can have all these things happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
but if there's no aim for the hero, the protagonist, at the end the story fails. Yeah, so that's the basic formula that you get, right? And then after that, basically they will plan their story, all right? And so come to the climax. Climax is a decision point. Yeah, it's not they fight and then somebody wins. Yeah, so once they understand all this, it's pretty easy to write a story. They plan the story. Then after that, they basically look at chapters. So each chapter, I teach them in 10 chapters. So
Okay.
each chapter about 300 words. They get the 3,000 words.
That's the same formula that you did for Create Your Own Adventure, right?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it's all very simple. It's just this. Well, I mean, we try to make it complicated, but it's not complicated.
Right,
yeah?
right,
When you write in chapters, there's always like what you do in the first chapter. If you don't get your reader by the first chapter, you lost them already.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
okay.
commonplace. But the whoever is going to write will remember this basic story model, and then they will write to that. So take their ideas, shape it.
Do you write with the beginning and the end, and then you fill up the flesh?
No, you plan the story first. Yeah,
okay.
depends. Some people plan with the end in mind. Like, okay, especially a mystery novel, a whodunit, like
Yeah,
Agatha
yeah,
Christie.
yeah. You have to-
You need, you
Yes.
need to have the end. Who's
Yep.
the murderer?
Where, with what, and
Yes.
who? Right?
Yeah, and then you basically start with the murder or whatever. Yeah, and I'm glad to say that some of the young authors I coach, in fact, like Agatha Christie, I thought in this time and day nobody reads Agatha Christie, but they
Agatha
do.
Christie.
Oh,
They even read
nice.
Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and they use most of them will write mystery and adventure for their books, and when you read an author and you follow the author, automatically I think writing comes to you because you want to write like your favorite author. Yeah, you want to emulate. Yeah, right. So these things come.
Do you have to be creative to be a good author, or is it science in writing? There's like templates, there's processes that you can follow.
There are the tools of writing, right? There's the craft of it. Okay,
okay,
I
craft.
can teach you the craft,
Right.
but the ideas, the creative part must come from you. So it's like you have an idea, I will work with you to shape your idea. That's what a coach does, a writing coach, I guess. Yeah. So that's how I work with my young authors. Parents will come to me and say, she doesn't have any idea, but I say, she has ideas because we work on 7 genres, like I just told you. And I told my young authors, which genre do you like? Write that genre. Yeah. So it's not telling them you have to write this, you have to write that. Yeah. And I think that is very important, that to tell the child that it's not that you're not creative, it's just that you have an idea but you don't know how to
Yeah.
shape it. Yeah.
Right.
So it comes from this perspective of I can't write to a perspective of yes, I have an idea and I have somebody to guide me to shape that idea into something. So they put in their own writing. I don't write for the kid. We don't write
Okay.
for the kids. I can work with the kids. So they do a first draft. My young authors, they do a first draft. And then I look at the first draft and I talk to the kid and, what do you want this character to do? Why is he doing it this way? Yeah. And so through talking,
Yeah.
they realize, oh, okay, maybe I can do it this way. Yeah. So I think that is about coaching. It's not about telling the kid what
Right.
to do. I think kids are very simple. We all try to complicate matters for kids because they have an idea and they just write it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just give them a few, the craft of it, like how to do this and how to do
Yeah.
that. End with a cliffhanger or something, It's just like movies you watch,
Yeah.
Then you want to read the next chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they pick it up and they use it. Yeah. So there's this pedagogy, when you teach kids, it's pedagogy. So when you teach adults, it's andragogy. Yeah. So pedagogy and andragogy are very different. Kids, they pick it up and then they want to apply it. Adults, sorry, I shouldn't say this. Okay, but I'm going to say this. Adults always, because we already have a
Yes.
basic concept of what
Yeah.
it is or what we think is that, and it is very difficult to unlearn. Yeah, because I do have something called Wicked Witty Woman, and it's an
Yeah, I was gonna
imprint,
talk
and
about
I
that, yeah.
want to coach women to write books. But first thing I hear is that I have no time. I have
Right.
no time. Huh? Second, I can't write. Yeah, it's not true. I think everybody can write.
Yep.
Just pick up a pen or pick up go
If
to the
they
computer.
can put up status on Facebook, they can write.
Oh yes, yeah, it's true. It's
That's
true.
hardly writing, lah. Come on. That's
But
hardly
it's a
writing.
start. It's a
A
start,
blog
right?
is a blog is writing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit like writing an essay kind of thing. But status is just one liner.
It's always one good headline, and then will lead to
Yeah,
some
I
gossip.
agree. I agree. Yeah.
So at this day and age, right? What's the trend now? Which genre of the books you think is very popular these days?
Well, I guess if it's children, you have all the series. I coach kids in writing, and there are 7 genres I work with. There is a magic and fantasy, which is always somewhere there. You have ghosts and ghouls, which is, but for kids, it's not horror. It's just ghosts and ghouls, about ghosts. Yeah. Then I have a mystery and adventure. All right.
Okay.
Asian tales.
Okay.
Then I have animal tales. Yeah. And the last is Aliens and Angels, which is sci-fi. So if you ask me what is popular, what do what do people read? I think it varies according to ages. Young kids, I mean, it's actually the best to write for. Adults, I really don't know. I mean, you have all these what do you call books, DIY books, or books, self-help books and all that.
Right,
Yeah.
self-help
And depends on your
books.
age as well, because if you are in your
Self-development books.
if you are in your, I don't know, 30s, 40s, you want to go for make 1 million, by the time I turn 30 or 40, something like that.
Right.
What about romance books? Last time we was
Yeah,
everybody's
the
crazy
Mills
about
and
romance
Boone.
books.
Yes,
right?
yes.
My sisters like big books.
Oh
are
yeah,
like,
I
my
was
goodness.
also one of them. Not Enid Blyton. Was
My
like
Enid
Denise
Blyton.
Robbins,
Ah,
Barbara Cutler.
They always some racy photo in front, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. But those were the times now. I mean, fairy tale weddings, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Now I think they go more than that. I mean, 50s and 60s, we tend to go into like how to age well, things, and it's
Right,
different
right.
according to like the years, the
Yeah.
decades. Now it's a bit different.
I guess it's also the progression of the society.
I agree.
Right? If you
Yeah.
probably go to another country,
Yeah.
which is probably in a developing stage, probably they're still reading those thick books.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's a natural progression of society, right?
Yeah.
Different age group, they will read different things. They like
But the
different
medium
things.
also has changed. I mean, it has evolved, like, from print to more digital.
Yeah.
So how
does that
people
affect?
consume is also different.
I work with young authors, and basically what is happening is that as they go into the award, they get published, and they'll take a certain number of their copies, quite a lot actually, and then they will either sort of like sell it to their friends, or the parents will sell it to other parents, So there is a market, but and with books also, you have, let's say, a book, it sells for a certain period of time. Yeah, like when it's just out, you probably sell
Right.
maybe a few months or 6 months. If you have more promotions, it sells better. If it's made into a film, it sells even
Yeah.
better. Yeah, but I think books, the shelf life is not really that there. But then you basically can have ebooks. A book can be made into an
Yes.
ebook.
So you extend the shelf life in a way.
Sort of like that.
Sort of.
Yeah. But for me, I mean, this is my own personal opinion. I have ebooks, but I don't read them. It's like you have. I know of someone who has 1,000 ebooks in
But
their Kindle,
never read.
but they don't read. I will read it one day, but I will not. It's like you got another book coming in and all that.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I think having physical books actually is much better, because I read physical books too. Yeah, and I will read until a certain page, and then I want to go to sleep, and then I'll dog ear it.
Yeah.
I put a bookmark, I guess.
Right.
But sometimes I dog ear, and then I put it aside, and then I come back to it. But for an ebook, I don't know. I mean, I don't enjoy reading through the computers. Maybe because of my generation.
Right.
Yeah,
on a
maybe
screen, on a tablet screen, no?
Nah, I don't really enjoy
It's
that.
practical though. You know what I don't like about keeping books? Collect dust lah. And storage. Ayo.
Yes, I have
I
to
have a
agree.
library actually. Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
not-
unless you do up, like a wall or a room, stack it up nicely and
Yeah.
show off people. Look at my library kind of thing. But for normal people like us, they're just everywhere inside drawer. Where's some
Yeah, and
books?
especially
Open up,
now
some books.
HDB flats are getting smaller and smaller. How to store all the books?
Well, I guess maybe because you're in film, and you're in a different kind of. Even though I guess we are all in media, it's different. I mean, you express yourself through film, things like that. But I express myself through books, through writing. So to me, books are like something I will hold and keep. Yeah, and read, because I started reading.
I guess
physical
lah. I mean, there is that kind of like sentimental feel to books. Hey,
Yeah.
I got one ask you question. How come Japanese books very small? Why other languages do not follow that? Do you know? I mean, like you're a publisher, you're the best person amongst you
Japanese
to
also
answer.
got big books, right?
Yeah, but mostly like
Yeah.
like my wife, her storybooks are
Like
very
a
small.
notebook,
Yes, I
like
got
that.
a few books. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe the manga thing. Mangas are always certain size, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but hers is not manga. They're all writing like okay lah. But they're small, so cute. Like
Yeah.
can probably because they commute a lot, so
Yes.
easier, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
That's
it's
much
like one
easier.
chapter of the.
Oh no, it's a
title.
full book.
Oh,
It's a
really?
It
full book.
is, yeah,
wow.
small like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I work for a Japanese company. I was,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
When you first started, right?
Yeah, regional. I was regional editor for this for PHP Institute. They are a think tank in Japan, founded by Matsushita, and they were doing something called Intersect Japan Asia. Also a small book, small magazine. Yeah, which is easy to read. Seriously, you flip through, and not many words because it's too small, right? So I think that makes it easier to read. And so so I think that concept of like the small is easier, like you say, for the commute, because Japanese, they always go to the office with a
Yeah.
bag, so they put it in the bag and then they read it. Yeah.
So, Catherine, how do you divide your time? Because you're still studying and then you're doing all these other
Not still
things.
studying, she studied again.
Yeah, restudying.
How do I divide my time?
Yes.
I think it's about loving what you do. I think all of us love
Yeah.
what we do. When I turned 60, I'm 64 this year. When I turned 60, I told myself, okay, rather than think about, whatever the past, think about how many more years you have. Okay. So I
Ooh,
think
that's scary.
no, it's not scary. So it's like I have 20 more good years before I turn 80.
Right.
Okay, I put 80
Whose
as a
benchmark is that?
what benchmark?
National
Who's
stats.
No, my own.
Your own,
Because
okay.
I think if I'm lucky enough to have that 20 years,
Right.
when I can move about, be mobile, and my mind is still there, I have 20 more good years. And I live 60 years, and it seems
Right.
like it's very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's true.
20 more good years is not really a lot. So I try to live every day well. And the Dalai Lama is also my inspiration, my muse. Yeah. He talks about living a life that transcends your own. Meaning that your life is there, but then live a life that is not only about yourself. It goes
Okay.
beyond yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. So I try to do that. I do projects that benefit my young authors, and I have the Catherine Khoo Writing Foundation, existing only in name. So I fund my own projects,
I
like
see.
projects for the children in Cavite with my young authors.
Where's
They write
Cavite again?
in the Philippines.
Philippines.
Yeah, and we raise money through publishing through the books. We sell the books, and then that goes to to buy food and medicine. That time was during the COVID days,
Right.
for the poorest people in the Philippines, in Cavite. And certain projects like the Singapore Cancer Society, where I did 100 Fabulous People, and we raise funds for them, for their stuff. And that gives meaning. And because I'm into publishing, I'm into writing, that gives me a sense of like, here I'm doing something, and this thing you can, it stays on, because the book is forever.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course the pages will sort of like tear, whatever,
Yeah.
but it's some legacy that you leave. Yeah. So to me, that's very important.
Okay.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, if I have that many good years, I hope to do more. Yeah. So I feel that I have been blessed. I mean, I can do all these things. So why not benefit some other person with what you can give? Yeah. I mean, I'm not rich, but I'm rich many ways. I got friends like both of you. Yeah. Right. So that's important. I mean, the friends that you have, the community that you build, rather than, I guess, how much money you make.
Does it get harder as your age progresses to attend classes, going back to school?
Actually, no. Like I say, it depends on your love. Like I've been interning with the Classics Museum in Adelaide, and I've held 100,000-year-old stones. And it's like you see
Fascinating.
yourself as just a moment in life, a speck. Because my God, 100,000 years old, and there are some older ones, but
Right.
you hold the stone and you think, oh my God, this one exists so long before me. I only have 80 years in my life, maybe.
Right.
But this one is like so many 100,000 years old. You have this moment that you feel that you are part of the universe. Okay, but the universe exists long before you, and so whatever you can do for it, or in your lifetime, you will try to do.
And you get all that from holding a stone.
I get all that, I think, from history.
Yeah, I guess so.
You
Yeah.
read, like from Sarafian,
Yeah.
Sarafian Saleh. He did you learn more about the Bugis, because you always think, Malays are Malays, but they're divided into so many
Yes, of course.
groups, just like the Chinese, but
Yeah.
you don't realize it until you hear somebody tell you
Yeah.
about them. Yeah.
In fact, if you go to Indonesia, the Malays are one group, and then you have the Javanese. You have, only in
Yeah.
Singapore, we put everybody Malay
Yes,
lah.
yes,
Brown
yeah.
color. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Just like the Europeans. I mean, we always think Europe, right?
Yeah, all Angmo, but same,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's true. Yeah. And you also learn about cultures, and it's like I'm very interested in the history of China, ancient civilizations. And you realize that in China during Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, you have the terracotta warriors, right?
Yes, that
So
I
I've been reading about them. And then you realize, because I see documentaries, that they could be Central Asian, they could be Europeans, and they're modeled upon Europeans, the ancient Greeks and all that. So they could have come into China. Yeah. So at the end, the analysis is that we are actually all one race. Well, I won't say race, all one people.
Yeah.
But we try to divide ourselves, like
Yeah.
I'm Chinese, you're Indian, he's Malay, things like that.
True.
But we are all actually what you call one people. But then I have to tell you something, Sha. The Genealogy Society, right? So they trace back the ancestors, right?
Yeah.
And,
Very interesting.
They do DNA.
Have you
okay?
done yours?
I've done mine.
Oh, you've done?
No.
No. So what happens
Yeah.
is, for quite a few of people in the genealogy, they actually trace.
Do
and
they
then
have
do-
discount for that? No.
One time they have.
Oh, is it?
I mean, I did it on my own. I didn't go
Oh,
through
okay.
genealogy, and I discovered I have Tibetan blood, I have Indian blood as well.
What's
So
your biggest percentage?
Chinese
Peranakan.
lah.
That's right. Huh?
Chinese.
Chinese, of course. Yeah. But
then you intermarry. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like long time ago. My could have come from another place. You
Sorry,
see.
Tibetan, Indian.
I have Indian blood.
What else? Which other blood groups?
I think there are others, but prominent is the Chinese, of course.
Right.
And then I have a bit of Indian blood. I have a bit of Tibetan blood. Yeah. Which is why maybe I'm
Interesting.
so aligned, with the Dalai Lama.
Dalai
You don't
Lama.
know.
Yeah.
Never know.
See? Yeah. See, so you could have maybe Japanese blood somewhere.
Who, me?
Yeah. You haven't done your
My lineage is Javanese.
Javanese.
Not
Javanese.
Japanese.
Javanese. Yes. Yeah.
But you never know, like you said, right?
Because people travel.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you don't trace back, you wouldn't know, like, your ancestors or how far you go. Yeah.
What about your kids? Are they like have the same interests as you as well? Are they bookworms?
My husband's family are not bookworms. All of them are in the finance sector.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing. But when my kids are young, what I did was I put books all over. That's the important thing, because you don't sort of like say, hey, you better read, Yeah, but what I did for my eldest one was I actually put books all over, and so any chance she has, she opens up a book, things like
Right.
that. So it gives them this sense of like, okay, so this is a book. They're familiar with books, yeah. So I did that with my first, my second, and my third. But my third she doesn't like books. She likes comics, which is fine with me,
Yeah.
because I think I want her to read.
Yeah.
So the important thing about it is that she picked up the book, the comic, and then she flipped through it and she enjoyed it. She
Yeah.
enjoyed the Archie ones.
Oh,
So I've
okay.
got
Yeah,
her
I
whole
enjoy-
Hey, I like
collection of-
Archie last time.
Yeah.
Collect it.
Yeah, I collected it as
Archie,
well. The Archie
Veronica,
comics,
and Betty. Yeah.
Yes.
Very
yes.
colorful.
Yeah. Okay, I share with you something. I live with my two sisters-in-law. One of them is a teacher, right? And teachers don't like comics. It's like bad English. You
Oh,
can't.
okay.
At the end of it,
True,
you're not going to speak good English.
Yeah, when we're growing up, comics is like, a form of distraction. No, you got to read school books
Yes.
or,
Yeah.
and
But that was
Britons.
so fun.
Yeah, it is
Right.
fun, but
It's
my
like,
time it wasn't. Especially when you're living with a teacher. It's like, don't pick up a comic; it will make your English
no fun,
bad.
these teachers.
But then, I mean, my take is that a book is a book.
Yeah.
You open up a book, you read it, and it opens your world, opens up your world. Yeah. So I bought the whole set of Archies for her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my sister-in-law
She
was
got
like,
into trouble.
yeah. But that's life,
Yeah.
Where to get the energy?
That's the thing.
Because I love what I do.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned
Right?
that.
Same for you. I mean, if
gotta
you love what
love
you
what you
do, you
do.
don't retire, or you don't, you just go on and on.
Okay,
All right.
thank you very much, Catherine. That's very good.
Thank you very much
Yes,
for inviting
thank you so
me.
much for
Yeah.
having
enjoyed
here.
this.
Oh, great. Fantastic. We can have you another round when you do something new.
Yeah,
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Catherine Khoo from Genealogy Education. She wears many hats, author, publisher.
Singer.
What's the last one? Oh, singer. No. Literary
Literary
traveler. Nice. Okay. I shall also get myself into that.
You should. You're
Okay.
already in it, actually.
Oh, thank you very much, Catherine. So that's our muse for today.
Okay.
See you in the
bye-bye.
next round.
Right.
Bye.